Hey everybody, this is my figure 8 puffer Butterbean, and right now I'm doing a water change on my 125. I did a water change on Butterbean's tank last night here. If you see that sort of red glare in the glass, that's the drainage bucket that's still sitting in front where I did the water change. I still haven't removed it. And then of course, if you can see that sort of rusty red color in the tank, that is actually that sort of red cyanobacteria or whatever that stuff is. It's starting to come back again. So I only did a 5-gallon water change last night. I'm going to do another 5-gallon water change in the next day or two when I get a chance. So when I do the next one, I'll get in there with the siphon hose and I'll try to draw out those little clumps of red growth. And that'll keep on top of it and I won't have to actually treat the tank again. I also got in here and fixed up the lights a little bit. I had done some really inexpensive DIY LEDs and they weren't working properly, so I got that sorted out as best I could. They're still not 100%. I had to remove a couple strips, so it's not entirely what I intended it to be, but it's a lot better than it was a couple days ago. In fact, it's a lot better than it was this time yesterday, 24 hours ago. So we do have the tank a lot more brightly lit, which probably means I'm going to get even more of that red cyanobacteria growth in there. So, I don't know. We'll see. But in the meantime, I've actually got a big old handful of snails that I've been standing here holding. That is going to be Butterbean's dinner in just a few moments. So while I'm waiting for my 125 to finish draining, we're going to watch Butterbean have some snails for dinner. So let me put you on pause here for half a second. And now Butterbean's got some snails to work on, and he's going to stop paying so much attention to me eventually. I'm telling you, he really does not like it when I've got this camera pointing at him. It's my phone. So to him it should look like just a big black rectangle. And for all the years I've been pointing it at him, you would think he'd be used to it by now, but he still really does not like being on camera. At least this one. So I've already fed the other inhabitants of the tank. I just put some flake food in there for them tonight. And then of course when Butterbean eats, he's so messy. Little bits of snail and meat go everywhere. And the little bumblebee gobies that you can see swimming around in there occasionally. There's one right there on that rock off to the right. And I believe there's one off to the rock on the left somewhere. At least it was a moment ago. They usually get some of his leftovers, and you can see how that meat goes drifting off into the current as he rips it out of those shells like that. There's a little goby right there. So I have had people in the past mistake those for baby puffers. They are not. They're gobies. They're a completely different type of fish. And the puffers really are messy eaters. See all that little bits of stuff going everywhere? That's good food for everybody else in the tank. And it really makes for a lot of bioload. A puffer might be 2 inches long or 3 inches long, but the bioload it produces is the equivalent of a lot more than a normal 2-inch fish. You got to think about how much body mass one of these fish has. They're a pretty full, solid fish. I think he's got 2 more in there, it looks like, that he hasn't gotten to yet. There's one of them. He really looks like he's got some scratches on his forehead and left side. So I'm guessing during the water change yesterday, he probably darted and dashed and banged his head into something. He's really skittish. He's got one more over there if he goes and gets it. It's amazing how he just sucks that meat right out of that shell like that and leaves the shell hollow. And he will often go back and just chew those shells up. Not only like right now during feeding time, but during the day I'll come in here and I'll just see him picking those shells up and crunching on them and chewing on them. And part of it I think might be just either boredom, so to speak, for a given value of the word boredom. These are fish we're talking about. But it's probably also partially to keep their teeth in check. Puffers have teeth that grow similar to the way a rodent's teeth grow, where they have to chew on stuff that grinds their teeth down. In the wild, puffers feed on shellfish and things, and so their teeth are naturally ground down anyway and grow continuously. So if you put them in an unnatural environment and you're just giving them a lot of meaty food without the hard shell to go with it, their teeth just keep growing and growing, and you wind up having issues with their teeth. So I think the fish probably take care of their own teeth to some degree. If they've got shells in there to crunch on, they probably do. They probably just chew and crunch on them in the same way that you'll often see rodents chewing on hard objects just for the sake of grinding their teeth down. So I have heard stories from people saying that their puffers have actually picked up pieces of substrate or will chew on the larger rocks in the tank for the same reason, and they've never had to trim the teeth. I've heard about trimming puffers' teeth. I've seen videos of people doing it, but fortunately I've never had to worry about it in all the years I've had Butterbean here, and he's about, I don't know, he's at least 5 years old, probably pushing 6 by now, something like that. But I'll call him 5 years old, and in all those years I've never had to worry about his teeth. They've never, begun to look problematic for me or anything, and he's obviously well fed and doesn't have any issues eating. So now that he's done eating, we've still got quite a ways to go waiting for the water to drain here. I'm going to drain it probably about twice the amount what you see that's in there right now. And once we get done shooting the video here, I'm going to get in there and pull a whole bunch of that water sprite out of there. So as usual, check for my email down below if you're interested in any of that water sprite. The offspring, the young water sprite, you can see has that nice full look. That's the way it's supposed to look. But if you look at the parent plant, you see that really weird twisted growth right here, this in particular. That is a sure sign of the CalMag deficiency I've spoken of before. I get that really strange etiolation and weird twisted growth on the stems, you can see. So the older plants look like that, and the mother plant looks like that. But when it's producing offspring, it produces the offspring by supplying it with all of the calcium and magnesium and everything that it's got available to it. So the offspring come out looking normal, and it's the mother plant that suffers, which isn't that always the case, but that's how that works. That's why the offspring actually looks like a perfectly normal plant, whereas the mother plant is growing all weird and twisted. Here's another one you can see. If you look in there, you see how twisted and unusual that growth is. That's from a calcium magnesium deficiency. I have really soft water, and you wind up getting that. So likewise, all this weird growth that makes it look like it's lace leaf, that's not lace leaf, that's a CalMag deficiency, and that's really dense and thick. I really need to get in here. You wonder why my tanks are so dark. I mean, just look at the thick mat of this. So I'll be getting in there tonight, and I'll be pulling a bunch of this stuff out. It just, these are all babies. They come out, by the handful. Those are all babies. So I'm going to go take them and throw them in my other tank in the other room. I do have a tank where I just keep these living and growing. So, I mean, that's just a tiny little handful. You can't even tell I made a dent in the amount of babies to pull out of there. So lots and lots of water sprite going and getting added to the bucket tonight. So if you're interested, let me know. I sell it bulk rate $22. That includes shipping, and you will get a big bag of water sprite, and I usually throw in some Java fern or whatever else I got. So again, if you're interested in the aquatic plants, just check my email down below, hit me up, and we'll talk about it. Oh, let's see, anything else I got going on while I got you here? Not that I can think of. I can see my whiptail catfish is out and on the glass back there. He's a pretty cool looking catfish, so we'll try to get a little bit of a look at him while he's out. Of course, my Angelfish is going to get right in the way and then stop exactly right in the way. There we go, sort of. So it still seems to be doing well. I always make sure I put at least a couple of whole algae wafers in. You can see the clownloach down there on the bottom's found one of them. And I often see the whiptail in there chewing on those algae wafers. So I know it's eating them. I know it's getting well fed. It's got that wood that it can scrape on. And then, of course, you know, the light in the tank, you know, provides plenty of light for algae and off-walks and everything to grow in the tank. So far, so good. We can hope he sticks around for a little while. I've had problems keeping the whiptails alive before. Don't really know what else to mention while I got you here. We can see my Anubias is in there flowering. I added eggshells to this tank the other day. If I can get around the room without stepping on everything. You can see they're already starting to sort of disperse down into the gravel to some degree. It won't be long at all before you just don't really even notice that those white eggshells are in the back, so it's not going to be too visually upsetting for me. It's not really going to mess up with the feel or the flow of the tank or anything, and hopefully it will give me just enough mineralization and we'll be happy. So, I don't know if you can see his little mouth sticking out right there. That's my black ghost knifefish. I feel bad because it just stays in that cave all the time, but it's got a bigger cave over on that side of the tank, and it spends its nights over there, and then it keeps coming back and spending its days in this one. And when I made the tank bigger, it actually seemed less happy than when I had the tanks, when I had that cave smaller. So I'm not really sure what to do about that black ghost in there. I'm probably just going to leave it the way it is. I don't know. People have suggested I change this tank up. I've had it the same way for years and years, but it was my first tank that I really sat down and thought about how I wanted it to look and designed it. And it's not the best design in the world. It really isn't. It's way too crowded. It's impossibly difficult to keep clean, and it's got dead zones everywhere where the water just, the debris and everything just accumulates. But it's got sentimental value, and visually, I really like the way it looks. I enjoy this tank a lot. So, I don't know. We'll have to see. It's overrun with the blue mystery snails now. I've got multiple generations of them. You can see some of these, like these larger ones here and here. And then I've got these tiny little babies that have just hatched recently. So, I'll put that on the list if you're interested in mystery snails, blue mystery snails in particular. Once again, check my email down below. You can hit me up for them too. Oh, there's that stupid, let's see if he chases my poor pleco. I've seen that 2 or 3 times now in the last couple days where that Chinese algae eater has, gone after my pleco here and, tried to latch onto him, or I don't know if he's chasing him away for territorial reasons or what, but he's definitely been aggressive towards my pleco here. So, one of these days, I'll get him out of there. I've tried 2 or 3 times, and as soon as I even approach this tank with the net, that thing vanishes. He's wily. He's really fast. He can wiggle into just about anywhere. And when you look at the tank, you can imagine, if a fish doesn't want to get taken out of this tank, it's basically going to be a matter of doing a lot of work to get that fish out. So when I see him out, I get the net out. I kind of try, but I still don't really know what I'm going to do with it once I ever do catch it out of there. I guess I'll just take it down to the fish store and hope somebody wants it or whatever. I'll just give it away. I don't know. And somebody moved my airstone, and they knocked it directly under the power head now, so I've got quite a lot of micro bubbles going on in the tank. I would say at this point this tank is highly oxygenated. That's about as much gas exchange as you could possibly get in this tank without, injecting something into it under pressure or something. Likewise, this tank with the lighting, the cheap do-it-yourself lighting that I've done, if we actually lift this up a little bit, if you look at the reflection on the water, you see the one strip that's fully lit. Look at the strip in the front. You see those little white dots across it? That's the lights. They're not lighting up properly. They're only that bright. So I don't know if some of the ones in the back are partially lit like that, or if that one in the front is the only one. But we've definitely got some lighting issues going on here in my gudgeon tank. And then, of course, I've also got, I was going to say, where is my gudgeon? I can't even see him. He's right there in the front, believe it or not. Overgrown. I definitely need to get in there and get all of that Java fern chopped back. And I'm probably just going to remove a few big chunks of it right out of the middle and just open the tank up. It'll look completely different and it'll look kind of weird. I sort of like this tank looking all lush and green like this, but it's too dark. I need to open it up some. So there you go. That was supposed to be a feeding video of Butterbean, but it turned into more of a tour of the fish room video. Excuse me. So I'm going to go ahead and call that good. I'm going to get in here and start working on getting some of the water sprite taken out of here. I'm going to let it drain another couple of inches, and then we're just going to go ahead and fill it back up. I'm not going to mess with the filter. I'm not even going to get in there and wipe down the glass. It's already like 8:30 or something. I've just been putting the water change off on this tank for days now, and I want to get it done. I got to get some of that water out and some new water in. I can worry about the filter later. I can worry about wiping the glass down later. You know, I just want to get some fresh water in the tank for everybody, and we'll worry about that other stuff later. So make sure you're subscribed, and then that way you won't miss whatever other videos I do with this tank or any of the other tanks I've got. So don't forget, this one here is my 125-gallon tank. Thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you real soon on the next one.